This morning we're going to look at how to compare two strings in MongoDB, and for the sake of simplicity and understanding the syntax, I'm going to refer to it as string 1 and string 2, and the reason is because that's what we're really doing is we're comparing one string to another string. So string 1 and string 2, in our simple example we're going to use string 1 as a first name and string 2 as a last name, and we're going to compare those strings. And what we're really looking at here is the order of those strings, which comes before which. So let's look at this really quickly. So we have the document db.names.find.pretty, and we'll see that we have a first name, last name. So we have John Doe, Jane Doe, Sean Smith, Sarah Smith, David David, and Deidre Deidre. So we know that David David and Deidre Deidre, the first name equals the last name. But what about the John Doe and Jane Doe, Sean Smith, and Sarah Smith? When we look at that, how is it going to come out? So we're going to use our aggregate here, db.names or db.collection aggregate, and then we're going to pass in our project operator like we've been using, and we are going to call this key, or I'm sorry, let's call this field compare when it comes out, and then we're going to pass in the comparison operator, which is str $str case cmp, and then we're going to look at string 1. Now string 1 in this case is first name, and string 2 in this case is last name. And notice how these are wrapped in quotes. And then we're going to close it out with brackets, and we're going to call it. And so the first thing that we're going to notice is that in the case of John Doe and Jane Doe, we receive a 1. In the case of Sean Smith and Sarah Smith, we receive a 0. In the case of David David and Deidre Deidre, we receive a negative 1 on Sean Smith and Sarah Smith, and a 0 on David David and Deidre Deidre. Okay, so in string 1, or in the first example where we have John and Jane Doe, we will notice that J is greater than string 2, which starts with D, if you think about it. John Doe, Jane Doe, J is greater in the sense of it is a later position in the alphabet. D is the 4th position of the alphabet. J is greater than that, right? In the case of Sean Smith and Sarah Smith, SE comes before SM, and SA comes before SM, and therefore we get a negative 1, and that's because in the case of the SE and the SA, both come before SM, whereas in the other example, J came after D, SE and SA come before SM. And then, of course, probably the most obvious one is the David David and Deidre Deidre 0. They're exactly the same. So this is very useful comparing two strings. It's really good for ordering data. It's also, I use this a lot for stock symbols in some cases. So it's one of those just things to have in the back of your mind, because when it comes up, you'll know exactly how to do it.